So I suppose one difference between the 21st century and the 20th century is that we've welfare. So I think welfare could look ethical to gun rights opponents if you said the country was evil, because to be on welfare is essentially to be on strike. So what gun rights forgets is that if they suspect the country is evil, then it's not actually sufficient just to own a gun, because if you accuse people of evil, then they're the enemy to kill, essentially. So it doesn't fully make sense how you'd ever think that just owning a gun by itself is sufficient, because militancy exceeds capitalism. So if you think about it, a sniper in a ghillie suit can crawl for days and days and days just to get a kill, and there's no one in capitalism that could replace a life or death work ethic. So in theory, to be up against an authoritarian regime means you really shouldn't be working to begin with, because you should be either in a militia and a gun club opposed to the state. So that's, I suppose, a shortcoming of gun rights. For example, when we think of Northern Ireland, it's possible that the nationalist community could have all collectively went on strike and just not ever went to work and overburdened the welfare state in Northern Ireland during the Troubles, and have forced unionists into a compromise. Likewise, if we look back at tyrannies in the 20th century, it's possible that a collective entirely fails because we aren't God. I'm not God. I don't know the decision of every single person in Burma as to how they let in a military dictatorship. But if you were God, you might say that maybe every single individual actually failed, was negligent to some extent, and in that case gun rights might have been sufficient either, because the individuals all failed. So I suppose gun control can be has become kind of militant, partially because gun rights actually consents to it, because gun rights exceeds gun control. I could be a gun control proponent who's allowed to own a rifle if I wanted to get a gun license, but to some extent I'm being more militant to not own a gun in order to infiltrate the country, if you want to sound militant about it. But so I suppose I'm just firing rhetorical bullets, as it were, at gun rights, seeing as they want to be that vigilant about everything. I suppose the problem with gun rights as well is that it's ironically lenient towards the opposite form of evil, of tyranny, because to have guns allows you to withstand tyranny better, such that people can vote in authoritarian regimes knowing that their power is limited when they have gun rights. So if you thought about Donald Trump and so forth in America, they could vote him in because no matter how violent Donald Trump became as president, Americans all had guns. Likewise, Ireland has partial gun rights, and people seem to be very lenient towards Sinn Féin in spite of a slightly dodgy past, but it's because of partial gun rights that no one is really afraid, and that means that gun rights can be kind of contradictory in being very tolerant of the opposite form of aggression. It's like if you were Ronald Reagan and you told Ronald Reagan to pretend to be a communist, then he'd actually be an exceptionally good person to try and moderate communism, such that anyone who ever become a communist would know that it was capable of being that mild. I could suddenly convert to Islam, for example, and still be compatible with Christianity, simply to present Islam so peacefully to everyone that anyone else in Islam would know immediately that Islam is capable of that amount of diplomacy. So that's why people who might be gravitating towards one form of aggression can often side with a form of aggression against themselves, because they can be very good at talking their way out of it. So anyway, that's my cautionary tale for gun rights on my nightly stroll. Thank you.